Thanks very much, Brad, Ewan, and Blake, for joining me tonight on this call. Just because of today being Children's Mental Health Week, and specifically on Thursday being Time to Talk Day, Gainsborough decided it would be a really good idea to sort of set up a sort of discussion just to talk about mental health, the importance of it, and more to spread awareness of it, just so that people feel more comfortable discussing it if they feel like they have any problems with it. So I guess we'll start with you, Brad. First of all, how important do you think mental health is as a topic to be able to talk about it?
Mental health is massive because, especially at the minute, it's kind of everyone's kind of closed between four walls, aren't they? But even just in before all COVID, it's massive because people struggle and you don't know. It could be someone sat next to you at work. It could be someone just you walk past in the street. You just don't. Sometimes you don't know. It's more just trying to get people to come out and speak, really.
It is quite a massive issue because of how it can remain a hidden problem almost, that just almost you can sort of look at someone and see that nothing's happening. But Ewan, do you think there's a massive stigma around it that sort of needs to be addressed in order for mental health to become less of an issue?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is obviously a stigma there with it, obviously people's well-being. And maybe sometimes we don't look into it as again, what Brad said, you just don't know, what's out there. And especially, we obviously what's going on at the moment, there's not that time to express when you can. And I think trying to break down them barriers and looking at people's well-being, is really, really important.
And Blake, obviously mental health is a massive issue, but because of everything that's happened with COVID, do you think this has sort of almost drawn a spotlight on it and increased attention to it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always been spoken about. I think it's sort of been highlighted a lot more during this pandemic, and I think people express and sort of let their emotions go in so many different ways that you don't really know how people deal with it until you're stuck in between four walls, and then they realise, actually, I need to do this, I need to do that to sort of relieve that from your system.
Yeah, it is difficult. And have any of you had any experiences either with family members or friends or even yourselves with mental health, and has it been a bit of an issue at any point in your lives?
Yeah, for me, I've sort of been through a little patch myself. Wasn't anything major. It was something I kind of got out of myself to kind of get up and do something about it. It wasn't anything too bad. It was kind of just it was before COVID. Didn't really know where I was, what I wanted to do, where to go. It was kind of just helping myself get out of it. It was kind of, I was in a bit of a stage sports wise as well, where I didn't know what was going on, if I was really interested anymore. But it was kind of just filling myself around with positive people, making sure I stay in touch with my mates, getting out and doing things, because you don't want to be stuck on your own in that sort of situation. So even though your mates might not know you was going through it, speaking to them sort of helps as well.
What about you, Ewan or Blake? Have you two either come across anyone, either a family member or a friend, or even gone through a period yourself where mental health has been an issue and has been sort of a hurdle you've had to overcome?
No, not really. But obviously, you can see with COVID and things like anxiety, has risen. And, sometimes when you do think about it, it probably does draw upon anxiety and maybe thinking of what is going on. Yeah, it probably, it increases your anxiety of the world and what could be tomorrow, and you just don't know. But no, it's something I've not really come across. I suppose more particularly now, it's like Brad said, to get out and see people, or to stay in touch with people, to hopefully reduce anxiety of what is really going on, in the present time.
Sort of never having come across mental health, or certainly not having had a friend or family member, do you sort of think it's harder to empathize with someone who has gone through it because it's not an obvious problem? or do you think it's something that is quite easy to relate to?
I think it probably is easy to relate to. I suppose just because someone might not have the full symptoms or whatever. I suppose you still have the feels of little things, don't you? For example, for things like anxiety and depression, it is them little things, I suppose, can be a lot bigger for somebody else, really. And yeah, it is easy, I suppose, to see and to speak to others and to talk to them about them issues from there.
And in a sporting context, Blake, mental health can seriously have an effect on a footballing side, but there have been instances of quite notable figures from the footballing world, whether it be former players or coaches or even people who help cover the game, like pundits or commentators who have come out and talked about their discussion with mental health. How important do you think that is in terms of tackling the stigma?
I think it's very important. As Brad said, I think sometimes you do find yourself hitting a brick wall. Like you don't know where your next step is. You don't know when it's going to end. You don't know when it's going to start. So I think a lot of former players coming out, they've sort of stopped doing what they're doing and they're doing a new adventure, but they're not too sure where that's leading. And I think a lot of people can relate to that at the minute because maybe they've lost their job, they can't play football anymore, and they don't know when they're going to restart. So like they don't know what to do in the meantime to sort of maintain that sanity of just enjoying life, because you can't enjoy it at the minute.
Of course. And with you three being coaches, has anyone in the squad ever come up to you three and talked about mental health? Has there ever been an instance in the past where a player or anyone related to sort of the club where you've been working at, have they come forward and talked to mental health with you guys about mental health? Sorry.
I think with what we've got at the minute, people are more open where we're at because we're such a good tight knit group. We've had moments where people just wanted to chat, like in the group chat a couple of times this year, where something's happened to somebody in the squad or someone's close to the squad, and everyone's just letting them know, look, you're there, you're not alone. I've had multiple chats with people, not necessarily about mental health, but it's kind of, it could have led that way. If I don't, sometimes it's kind of like I don't want to play football anymore, and you just kind of got to keep speaking to them. And a couple of days later, they might go, "Oh, do you know what? I made a mistake. I just need to keep speaking. I need to speak to somebody." But like I said, the group we've got at the minute, and I've had it at other clubs as well. Everyone tries to treat it a bit like a family, and we try and stay close. And we've got figures around us four. Well, Luke's not here, but us four as coaches, the players. There's plenty of players around there to, if something's said out of line that makes someone feel a bit, no, I don't know, that they're there to tell them that no, you don't do that, basically. So
it's really good to have that tight-knit bond and make players and other people feel really welcome and being able to openly talk about it. But do you think there is an element being, let's use a sort of a young male individual as an example, that they might find it difficult, being sort of the age they are, the gender they are, to openly talk about this problem?
Yeah, I do agree. You can see where people may not come forward because of it. They may feel embarrassed and things like that by it, but that's not where it is, I suppose, as what we are as a coaching for, etc. We are there to look after people and the team's well-being. I suppose those that do have, like Brad has said, those that have needed a chat, and they've expressed any issues they've had, and hopefully that's either ironed things out for them or reduce things and hopefully not allow things to get worse, really.
I think we're at a stage as well as under 21s where players it's kind of like from the professional game or academies where players are now deciding if they get offered a pro contract as well. Like we've had a few come across who kind of, have they got offered a pro, have they not, are they going to carry on playing football? Because that's like the sort of thing, like that's the age we've got. It's kind of not the last chance in football, but they've got a really good opportunity whether they want to take it or not as well.
There's a lot of pressure, obviously, in various situations which could bring about, affecting your mental health and causing anxiety and depression. But do you think enough is being done at grassroots level, Blake, to sort of tackle this problem, or do you think sort of more needs to be done, more action needs to be taken? Obviously, it's difficult in this time, but do you think sort of enough is being done?
I think there's a lot more being done than what there was. Being a grassroots coach the last few years, I think you start to see the increase of the sort of promotion on it and sort of speaking out, making sure you are speaking to people and your coaches, your family, your parents. I think it's getting there. There still needs to be work done on it. And I think there's a lot of embarrassment around it. Like, kids just don't know how to feel nowadays because it's a lot of technology. They're more bothered about, well, not more bothered, they're more used to expressing themselves on text messages and stuff like that. So I think it is hard to socially do and socially speak about it.
That's a good point that you bring up about social media. It being as powerful it is there any element to that might affect the mental health side of things, whether it can be used as a platform to speak about it, or whether it's used on the flip side as a negative tool to sort of almost increase the pressure and sort of be detrimental to your mental health?
I think it can be both. It can be positive and negative, depending on what sort of platforms you're on. There's plenty of platforms out there like Shout, stuff like that, where it can be really positive, where you can sort of express your feelings if you don't want to talk to someone that you know, but you can sort of speak to someone that doesn't know you and you can express your feelings to them, because I know a lot of people don't like people thinking about what they're going through, but obviously it can be negative as well with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, where you can sort of get trolls and stuff like that. You can get comments, whether it's fake accounts, whether it's friends who you think are friends, or it's just like a bit of banter, but it can go a bit too far. So I think it can be positive and negative.
And that may be a bit of a problem that people might tend to overlook, is that it as you said, Brad, it's great having that sort of tight-knit community at Gainsborough to be able to talk to mental health with the people you know, but is it a completely different problem that's heightened when you need to talk to a complete stranger about it, which you might not be particularly comfortable with?
Really, like, for me, it's kind of, I found it hard speaking to somebody directly about my problems. That's why I kind of drew it away from things. So I think there's advantages from actually speaking to somebody you don't know, like a professional, like the helplines, everything like that, because for one, it could be kept completely confidential. So it's, you kind of speaking to somebody and that's just bouncing off each other, instead of actually you're speaking to somebody but you don't know whether it's actually going to go somewhere. Like for me, if I went and spoke to, let's just say, Blake or Ewan, I've got a problem, that if someone else came and spoke to me about it, I know it's kind of gone somewhere. So speaking up and helping, using the helplines is absolutely massive as well. But like I say, you can have it completely confidential as well.
Yeah, and although there may be, the pressure with football might bring about issues with your mental health, if you look at it on the other side, Ewan, how can football be a benefit to sort of dealing with depression and anxiety and your mental health?
Yeah, I think football and I suppose physical activity and exercise can, release pressure, stress, and bring about that positive well-being, really. So it's not, football is obviously, especially what we're doing here with the 21s, with the group that we've got, and being surrounded by other individuals is really, really good for those that maybe are struggling to feel welcomed and warm, etc. But even, physical activity, going out and walking, and that's maybe something we sort of seen from the last, two previous lockdowns. Obviously, now we're in one, but the idea of going out and walking, running, I suppose that has really taken off, and hopefully people's well-being has hopefully gone forward with it.
Mm-hmm. You have talked about offering some help to any of the lads who might have struggled with mental health. Have there been any other sort of ways you've offered to the squad or anybody else in the club, sort of elements that you've set up to be able to enable them to talk about it? Just offer just a brief explanation about what's been set up.
So, like obviously, the lads always know that our phones are always on, whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, middle of the day, it's always on. But like I say, we've had a couple this year where they phoned me, and I've been a little bit unsure. But like I say, at the club, we've obviously got kind of like a bit of a mental health section where they've always kind of been there to offer, if anyone is struggling, come and speak to them. The lads know that. Not quite sure how many of the other clubs know that at the club, but obviously it's a massive thing to have. Obviously, like I say, with our age as well, obviously kids growing up and up and up, they do start to struggle, especially in sports. And for me, I've seen some really good examples to try and keep everyone sort of together during this lockdown. A few grassroots coaches from like under 12s, under 14s, keeping the groups together, whether it's a bit of bingo, quiz, and I like that sort of idea, because like for kids as well, like obviously myself, Blake, you and Luke, we all work with kids from ages 7 to 21, and like we're in and around it every day, and like at the minute it's a completely different world. Us at the minute as well, we're trying to keep the lads together as much as we can. They've got a plan to try and keep the mind active more than the body. Meeting up every week, setting little challenges. So that's something what we sort of sat down before the lockdown came in to discuss trying to keep them together, because we anyone could go anywhere at any point, and we wouldn't know.
Have you been offering this through obviously in person, but also online? Because most of the time, especially in lockdown, people won't be able to meet up and perhaps discuss about it. So in order to take their mind off it, have alternative ways been offered online, either through Zoom or whatever?
Yeah, we've been doing Zoom twice a week, once a week. The numbers have been really good, and the lads are really bought into it. And if someone's missing from the Zoom, the lads are like, "Oh, are you okay? Wait, what are you doing?" That, like I said, like our lads are really good, and I've been doing the same with the under 18s. Not quite as active. Obviously, I took charge of them for a couple of games, but not quite as active. But I set them little plans to do, and they all still send me little bits across to let them know they've been active, and that's a good thing as well. It kind of can filter down. If someone else grabs hold of it, they're going to filter it to somebody else. It's trying to keep active as much as possible, because, like we said before, you're stuck between four walls sometimes at the minute. And once we come out of this and get into some sort of normality, you want to try and get that normality back instead of still staying between them four walls and not speaking.
Okay. And sort of what way can people get in touch if they need to? Sort of how, if they, let's say if someone is watching this right now, how, if they wanted to talk to anyone at Gainsborough, how can they get in touch to be able to talk about their issues?
So at Gainsborough, there is a Gainsborough community health page, where people are still willing to talk. Obviously, there's lots of helplines where they can help you, obviously, get hold of them to speak to somebody. But yeah, there's plenty of ways to get in touch. Obviously, it's gone through Gainsborough Trinity Foundation, where this video is posted on today. So.
Okay, that's great. And I don't have anything else to add. I'm not sure if you, Brad, or you, Ewan or Blake, have anything else to add about mental health and sort of the discussion, just to talk about it. Just
for anyone who's kind of stuck, don't know where to go, just like today, time to speak up. People are willing to listen, like we are with our players. We're always willing to answer the phone to them, speak to them, but just in the wider world, like you could help somebody out, like just speaking to them. Don't shut people out. Don't like say social media is just a massive place where people can get themselves down at the minute. Just be kind. Just speak to somebody.
Anything just final to add, Ewan or Blake?
No. obviously, really, really important about the idea of being kind to others, and remembering that just because someone hasn't said anything, everything is okay. You just don't know, and just reinforcing home that social media, can be a really dark place, especially with times like this. And be kind, but be helpful. Stay around with others. Really.
Anything to add, Blake?
Yeah, just to echo both what they've said. Really, just if it's not Games with Trinity, it's somewhere else. Just have a sort of look if you are struggling. There's plenty of people out there, whether it's your family members or it's sort of professional. There's a lot of free stuff out there.
Well, thanks very much, Brad, Ewan, and Blake, for taking your time out of tonight just to be able to come and talk about mental health and its importance. And on a final note, if anyone is struggling out there with mental health, there are ways to get in touch with Gainsborough or anybody else. But thank you three very much for your time, and I hope you all three have a great evening and you're dealing with lockdown okay.
Perfect. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.